There has been a bit of movement in the altcoin space and also a little movement also with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're going to cover a lot of that today in our altcoin weekly special that we do every week for you guys. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Joining me today is Mr. Evan Aldo, coming in remote again to talk about altcoins today. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
So Evan, let's get into a couple of things. Let's talk about Bitcoin first. And I want to jump to a few things within it. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors today, and that is Quantum Miami. If you guys are looking at coming to Miami, this is your place because they've got a huge event happening actually next week, January 25th through the 27th. It's right here at James L. Knight, and it's going to be an absolute barn burner of not only speakers, networking events, a lot happening. If you're into Bitcoin, any of the projects out there in crypto, this is one of the events you guys got to check out. Make sure and use our code. It's Barron20. Very easy. You get a 20% discount. We'll leave a link down below in the description. Evan, let's get into this story right here. Crypto lender Genesis, of course, filing for Chapter 11. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. It's now happening. This is a big deal, and to a certain extent, it may have some impact on Bitcoin, maybe not as much as everybody had anticipated in the beginning. Obviously, this may bleed over into some GBTC scenarios, but nothing there as of yet. Looking at a little bit of what's happening on Twitter out here, just saw it. Gemini, this is the largest creditors, including Gemini, 765, Marana Corp, this is a crypto venture fund, 150 million. Moon Alpha trading under Babel Finance, which we knew, 150 million. Decentraland, this one we'll talk about in a minute, 55 million, guys, on the creditor list for Genesis. Then Van Eck, which we've talked about, and then Big Time Studios, another big one that we've talked about here before. Evan, let's jump over to your Bitcoin chart because I want to take a look at where Bitcoin is faring with the news on Genesis.
Yeah, so the main thing that I'm a little bit concerned about here on the Bitcoin chart is I want to start on my 4-day right here. And I want you guys to keep an eye on this blue triangle that I circled right here. And this one right here, look at how similar this kind of looks to as end of March, April 2022. And look what happened there. Also, if you look at Market Cipher B down here, this higher wave coming up, you're getting close as this VWAP comes down, the yellow comes down to print a red dot. So I'm not saying you're going to just crash down, 60 something percent, but I think the next few months could bring us to lower lows according to this. This is a strong signal that we could be potentially topped out here. Now, obviously this one was it was a bearish signal here. You came up a little bit higher. This was still kind of when you were coming back into the bear market, that was still a 22% drop down. So even let's say maybe best case scenario, you have a 20% correction, you're back in the 16, 17K range for a bit, but I'm kind of thinking you could come down a little bit more here. Also, what I want to show you on the 3-day, we could look at this exact pattern here. Look at the blue triangle, then look at the green dot and look at the red dot right here. So we don't have the red dot yet, but when this red dot appears and confirms the Market Cipher B, I think this would be a very strong place to look for a potential short entry. And this is even more bearish in my opinion, because if you see these split RSIs, and these split RSIs and Market Cipher B split apart and curve down, typically a pretty bearish sign. It becomes stronger the more they're split apart, and you see how they're very split apart here. And the anchor wave is going to be higher. When it's above this solid line in Market Cipher B, it's stronger. Now, it doesn't mean too much yet, but once this confirms, or the red dot, once this next red dot happens and confirms, that's going to be pretty bearish. Also, the last thing I'm looking at here is this money flow, this curvature on this 4-hour. When you have curvature like this, look at that curvature here, similar to the bullish case that we saw over here. Look at that curvature, brought us up a ton. This overheated curvature with this money flow could bring us down more, and you could even see it happening more on the 2-hour here. That's some pretty good curvature. Once you cross into the red right here, that could bring us down. Now, in the short term, it wouldn't surprise me if you have a little bit more, some wicks up maybe to 22K here, 21.7. This is a big line of support and resistance, a spiral line right here. So that's what I'm looking at for the short term, but I am leaning definitely more bearish right now.
Okay. Well, I think, the scenario we've had throughout the week on, just our sentiment data has been up in terms of trend. And yes, Bitcoin did see a little bit of a correction over the last few days, but it's also back over 21 again today. And that, to me, at least, still is in line. Now, granted, one thing that we have seen is a little bit of a slowing of sentiment. So you could be onto something here, waiting for a red dot if it does materialize. What are your thoughts? Do you think we hit 23 before we hit 19? Or do you think we hit 19 before 23?
Much more likely we hit 19 before we hit 23. The big area that we're looking at is going to be around 24, 25K. I don't really think we have the steam to get there. We just came up so quick. It's not too sustainable. The Fed is probably going to sound hawkish. The S&P 500 doesn't look good by any means. So for those reasons, I don't think the odds are very high. We get to 23K before 19K.
Likelihood of seeing another potential of a bear market rallies, these come and go throughout, and when you compare them to, some of the past, cycles, it's a common thing. So are you anticipating other points as we start to see the Fed maybe going to either a scenario where we get no rate hikes, of where we'll start to see some movement on the on-risk or high-risk assets?
Yeah. So what's interesting with that is typically, obviously, once the Fed pauses rate hikes, starts to pivot, you get the big crash after. It obviously could be different this time because the Fed waited so long to even start the rate hikes. So I think the next few months will most likely be more bearish. February is a bearish month, but I could see more into March, April, another bear market rally. But there's a strong case to be made for lower areas. And the last thing I just want to show you real quick on the chart here is a lot of people on MarketCypher are probably excited about this monthly green dot, which has always been the bottom historically. It was the bottom here in 2018 or 2019, 2018, that bottom. And then in 2015, it marked the bottom a few months after. What has me concerned here is I want to show you guys on the 3-week why this may be kind of a fluke here. So this is the first time ever on the 3-week. Look at this green dot. This was the bottom in 2018. That marked the bottom. This is the bottom in 2015. But we had it confirmed here in September. It was not the bottom, so it invalidates that. A lot of times the things that happen on lower time frames will happen again in higher time frames. So this would be the case where you could confirm the green dot, but you'll just roll over and come lower. So you could do something like this, and you may not see a bottom until like mid to late this year. In the next green dots, you'll see kind of a bullish div here, maybe a deeper green dot or a bullish div happen towards the end of the year. And that's where your bottom is. So that's what I'm looking at right there. And fun fact, after the NASDAQ.com bubble, it took 2 green dots to hit the bottom. That's what happened in the NASDAQ.
Yeah, if you guys look at this tweet here, and this just shows you the cycles, of what let me zoom up on that a little bit for you guys. The 2015-17 bull market's 1,000 days, 2018 bear 364, 2018-21 bull 1,064. Interesting. 2021, which is the current market low, 364 days. So days left until the top. If we just carbon copied the cycle, still at around 1,000 days out. So technically, this could be one of those scenarios where if you were just looking at time cycles of where, yes, to your point, there may be some options. Let's jump over to Ethereum. NFT sales now have topped 101 million in 2022. Likelihood is we could be nearing the bottom with NFTs. Where do you think Ethereum is going to track along with what's happening with Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, more bearish. I mean, I think based on the thing I want to show you too, just really quickly before I look at it, Ethereum is Bitcoin dominance. Just look at this Bitcoin dominance, how good this looks in the monthly. Right. And what we're seeing too, we haven't seen it in a while, but this was a very Bitcoin dominant rally. Bitcoin dominance went up and Bitcoin outperformed a lot of these altcoins as we came up too. Bitcoin dominance has been very bullish. So I think we're finally going to see Ethereum bleed significantly against Bitcoin. So the thing I want to look at on Ethereum here, I want to start with the 5-day. And it's kind of the same as what I was showing you on, I circled it right here. Look at the blue triangles right here. That was a blue triangle in April, and another blue triangle. And look at, see how we're at the same level kind of with the red dot that's about to print. Once you get that, that could be a big draw downward. And that could be, I know it sounds really bad, but 60, 70% draw down as we get, into the recession to these lower areas, these spiral lines around 600, probably worst case scenario, somewhere in the 300s. I don't know if we're going to go that low, but that's your case to come down into the summer later this year into those lower areas and really have Bitcoin outperform Ethereum. I think as you get into the recession, as recession gets announced, a lot of these things could really go down. Also, what I'm looking at too is the same, very similar to Bitcoin, the next red dot. So you got the blue triangle and then the next red dot here on the 3-day for a potential drop downward. Also, if you look at the money flow here, it's starting to really come down. Like right now, we're testing this high volume area right here. So it's not impossible to have another leg up to 1700. That wouldn't surprise me too much because I'm sure a lot of people are trying to short right now, and the market tries to get those out of the people shorting early, get those out of the market. But I think there's a decent shot right now, as you see on these lower time frames. There is some money coming in, but it's going to be tough to get up to those areas. I think now is a big area to look. And the other thing too to look to short is once this crosses over into the red in the 3 hours, some of these lower time frames, once they cross over into the red here, that's going to be a strong area to look to short, combined with what I was talking about earlier, the 2-day red dot to next red dot to confirm. So be patient with it, but I think there's going to be a good swing short opportunity here.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so we're going to run through some altcoins here. We'll try to keep them quick and furious here. One that is happening right now is Decentraland, and the thing we just pointed out earlier is the owners or the project leads having some heavy exposure on Genesis. Most likely, is this a problem for Decentraland? If you look at the charts, Evan, are you seeing some movement? Because they had a little bit of a run up here over the past few weeks.
Yeah, a lot of the gaming ones did have a run up, but in terms of how Bitcoin dominance looks, I think Bitcoin's still going to outperform a lot of these for a while. My main concern with Decentraland right now, I circled it right here, blue triangle, green dot on the 2-day. Obviously, in the bull run, this brings you up, but we're still in the bear market, in my opinion. I don't see any reason to believe we're just going to come into a bull market, out of nowhere here with Bitcoin dominance looking so bullish. And this could be a repeat of, something of this nature. I don't know if you're going to come down another. I don't think you're coming down another 92%. Hopefully this doesn't go to zero and, makes it. There's some decent fundamentals. Well, bad thing with Genesis, but we'll see about that. Yeah. But there's like Ethereum. We could absolutely see, 70 to 80% down. And a lot of these bubble pop patterns will bring you down to your original place over here. That could be a case for 10 cents. And it wouldn't be completely impossible to come down like what we saw Cardano in the last bear market, 98%, and then come back. It wouldn't be impossible to have that happen. And that would be in line with a bottom, sometime mid to late this year for a potential bottom with MANA here. So yeah, as of right now, I think it's a great place to take profits. We've seen in these, we see rallies like this. I just want to see the percentage here from this little rally back in February. That was 100%. Yep. And now this was probably a little over 150%. So not impossible to just roll over here. Look at every time you come into the green too on the daily chart. It's really bearish. Came into the green, bearish. Now we're coming to green again, bearish. So yeah.
XRP, lots of news coming in from WEF. We see Brad Garlinghouse over there saying it's absolute zero chance of them settling with the SEC. So that being the case, and he's also indicating that this is going to happen in, maybe in the next quarter too. So if this happens by June, likelihood of XRP, where do you see this token holding up in terms of pressure?
Well, I think XRP is going to be sideways for the next 40 years. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's just, it's the most boring thing right now. You're in this giant wedge. This is weird. So you're in this giant wedge. And I know a lot of people have talked about this, and you've been coiled up for a long time now. You've been coiled up for about over 6 months now. You're going to break up or break down depending on what happens. It seems like every time it seems like something is going to happen, nothing happens. But you're seeing a few bullish things that you're not seeing on other time frames, like this 2-week bullish div right here, which I kind of like for the bullish case. And obviously, your technical target would be insanely high. I guess it's possible if we go into another bull run, if really good things happen, you could come up, I don't know about $4, but you could probably come up to a double or 150% gain, something like that, mess with all-time highs. That's possible. But if bad news comes out, what I'm worried about here is what I want to show you on the 2-day, I believe. Yeah, look at this. This looks pretty bearish on market side for B. Money flow coming out with your VWAP coming down. If you break downward from this wedge, your technical target's going to be extremely low. Now, I don't know if you're going to 0 or 5 cents here, but there's probably a strong case to be made to mess with the pandemic lows or mess with some of those areas. If you lose that, there's nothing until around
Yeah, it
three,
doesn't
four
hold you
cents.
back. The only thing
So
with Ripple,
yeah,
yeah, the only thing with Ripple and XRP that I still find interesting to me is how this narrative will be, voiced. And if you look at this tweet from John Deaton, 9 days after the SEC filed the case, Ripple alleging XRP itself was and will always be a security. He filed a writ of what they call mandamus versus the SEC, saying that it appeared to be, more used as a weapon. And I think what we're finding is that the case seems to be resolving exactly as what many legal analysts have been purporting. And that showing that, in other words, it's actually was what it said it was, and that all these were somewhat frivolous claims, which is the likelihood of getting a win. If we get a win here, and I say we, if Ripple gets a win, I feel like all of the charts are probably going to completely get thrown out the window because we're going to just see a sentiment, wave like a tsunami that's
you
just
could
going
see
to completely change.
100%. Yeah, like
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it could
Now,
double.
how
Yeah.
long will that sustain is the big question. Because right now we are seeing down sentiment on XRP. We'll be dropping CPI today, and I just looked at some of the numbers. XRP down. So again, back to your point there. Let's jump over to Enjin. Movement there in terms of Enjin. They had a cross game items. Now sometimes, when you look at the potential here, what they've done is they're looking at launching their own wallet. Here was kind of the iOS version. Version 2.0 for the Enjin wallet, now live. Again, these are good moves for Web3 projects. The question is how does this translate to an investment strategy for you on the charts? What are you looking at?
Yeah, let's see here. I mean, there are still a lot of things that I'm a bit concerned about, and I want to go to my 3-day right here and just show you it's that same kind of pattern that we're looking at. And the blue triangle, see, you get the little rally upward. This was a decent rally that we saw in June. After that dump, that was 100%. And then what are we seeing right here? This is, oh, wow, exactly 100% almost. And, blue triangle. In this environment, I just don't see, with Bitcoin dominance looking so bullish, I just don't see you continuing forward. I don't see the blue triangles playing out how they did in the bull market back in 2020, but yet it's possible. But I see the main case here to be made is, I mean, you can even see it more on the 2-day blue triangle, that green dot, and then the next red dot just brought you down farther. So usually in a lot of bubble pop patterns, you get these bear market rallies, but you end up coming down farther. And I think there's a decent path to around, 15 cents in the next few months if you repeat something of that nature. Sadly, I just don't see the bullish case too much here. I don't think it's too likely.
Interesting. One note, guys, for you guys, I know you follow AMP occasionally. It has just been relisted over on MEXC. So AMP got a little bit of a move here. So just be aware of it. I know AMP was delisted across so many different projects, mainly because of this SEC action. So I just wanted to bring that out as some news updates. I want to talk about XCAD and Verasity next. We've looked at XCAD. It's actually one of our high-risk projects that we're watching. We saw a little bit of a run-up on XCAD and then a fall-off real quick. Do you think we'll continue to see a downside for XCAD right now as it's charting?
XCAD's interesting. Like the new ones are a little bit tougher to kind of chart, but I'm more neutral to bearish on this, more bearish on all the altcoins just because Bitcoin dominance looks so good right now. I mean, I'm a little concerned with these kind of, if you look at the pattern, these daily blue triangles, they typically bring you down, most of them. What we're seeing is a lot of them right here. A lot of these time frames are pretty neutral. I mean, you can make the argument that we're hitting some major support here, getting the bullish div, so we could continue forward. But if you kind of look at the main patterns here, when you see a little bit of green, then you come down farther. You see some green, then you come down farther. I mean, could we come up a little bit higher to maybe $1.50? Sure, but it seems like that pattern will continue to play out, and you come down farther here. It's a high risk one, like you said. I mean, you could invest in it based on fundamentals if you like it. In terms of the charts, I wouldn't give it too much hope here, just because the main pattern, some green, then come down more green, come down more. It's possible you could reverse, but I don't think the likelihood is too high that you'll reverse. I think you're probably going to come down more.
All right, interesting, because I think one thing that's happening with XCAD right now is their iOS just got ready, or is getting ready to launch. They had 10,000 downloads on their Android. I don't know if there's enough sentiment, pent up demand here for it to really kind of ramp. I think the key here will be they need to win a big YouTuber in terms of being able to really see maybe some integration areas around what's happening with, watch to earn kind of theories. You look at Verasity. Verasity has a couple of things. New roadmap now out. 23 is focused on commercial goals, which I think is good. The Verasity card. Payments app for Verasity adoption. All this is good news for Verasity. I was looking at their roadmap here, and for you guys, just go over to verasity.io and click /roadmap. You can catch all this. But right there, you can see the Q4 all the way back to 2023. Let's go look at Q2, Q1, where we are right now. So they're getting the Vera views. This is the onboarding part. They've got IVT detection. These are new algorithms coming in. Lots happening here in this one. And again, Verasity, big moves on the chart. Can it hold this continued movement right now? What are your charts showing you?
So yeah, I mean, they have a lot of like big goals, and we'll see if they're able to kind of do everything they want to do. I think a lot of this rally is anticipation for that, and we don't know if they're going to be able to fulfill all of that. So that's the thing. Main thing I'm concerned about here is the blue triangle, kind of on the 3-day. Like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like a lot of the market, we're repeating kind of a lot of things that look similar to April before a big drop downward. This was a huge rally upward. I would have liked this rally to be a lot slower, to be more sustainable with some healthy corrections. It seems like a lot of people are just going to take profits and dump this down right now, kind of in my opinion. In terms of the daily, if you just look, I circled here the daily money flow. I mean, that was back in April. You come into the green, come down farther, come into the green here, come down farther, come into the green. Looks like you're probably going to come down farther, in my opinion, unless something crazy happens, unless, we're able to somehow go back into a bull run. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Usually a lot of the bubble pop patterns will bring you down to probably at least 1 cent here, kind of this area. I mean, we got the jump off of this point of support, but the next place that you'd probably mess around with is 1 cent in the next few months, April into May, something like that, maybe sooner, maybe a little bit later. So or excuse me, 1/10 of a cent actually.
Right, yeah. a lot of altcoins for you guys today. Make sure and smash the like button if you like these altcoin shows and these roundups that Evan and I do. We're doing these weekly now for you guys, so hopefully it gives you some insights. We try to track it against CPI in some cases. We're looking strictly at TA and looking at all that. If you guys want to check out Evan, make sure and click the link below. We'll put one in the description. He has a great course on market cipher trading and also fundamental trading analysis as well. Let's go over to the poll real quick and see what the audience is saying today. Which altcoin is currently most promising in terms of short term? Enjin, XCAD, Verasity, or AMP? And we've got Enjin coming in with Verasity number 2 at 29%. Enjin, interesting. I like Enjin. Enjin has been one of, and was, in fact, it's on our CPI. It has been for a long time. I think fundamentally, when you look at the metaverse tokens out there and just some of the things that have been done, I like it. One question in from the audience today to you, Evan, before we get out of here, is Bitcoin. Your thoughts on, because our original low for Bitcoin was around 14.5. That's kind of our target. Gareth has been on our show many times looking at under 10K, or in some cases, in that range. What is your likelihood of a low on Bitcoin for a bottom? If you were just looking at based on the charts, where do we see a potential window if you miss it within 1,500, 200?
Let me show you something. I'll show you something on the charts for this. So the main thing I'm looking at, so we always typically bounce off of or hit off of a major weekly moving average when we do bottom out. And historically, it's always been the 200 or 300. The pandemic low was the 300. Let's see here. Let me set this to so we have the 400 and the 500 to mess around with. We're slightly above the 300 right now, but the 300's at around 17 something, 18K right now, slightly above that. The next big one is going to be the 400, which is at 14. I'm kind of seeing, like, if we roll over, especially if we come into the red with this money flow on the 3-week, or if we come back on the 2-week, which looks pretty bearish, the money flow coming out back in the green right now, but I think it could roll over. You could come lower, and the next one after that I'm keeping my eye on is the 500, which let's show you right here, which is going to be, and I think it's probably the most likely, around 11 something now. We could hit this in the next few months. It could be off of this spiral line at 12K. That could be a big possibility in September or something. It could be just a slower, repeat of what we saw here, a slow, like gradual decline down towards the end of the year, just bore a lot of people away. And altcoins would really bleed a lot against Bitcoin here.
Yeah,
you'd have a market
sure.
that's very apathetic. Like you'd have a lot of people that are very apathetic, and that would be a great place to get in right there.
This is going to be something to watch too, guys, because we've got a lot of analysts coming on the show that are looking at certain macro things that could shift Bitcoin and some of these risk assets into a little different scenario. We had Lynn Alden this week, who was looking a little bit more bullish. Actually, I was surprised. And same thing with Dr. Bear. Jeff Ross, he was also looking a little bit more bullish. So we're going to keep a close eye on that because there's a lot of things that could still be pushing downward. Yeah. As you guys know, my position is a bit more conservative. Still think we're at mid-year before we start to see some kind of action coming in. So there's some potentials here. Evan, always great having you on the show. Thanks so much for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Paul. It was great to be on. It's a pleasure.
All right, so you guys, if you're not on our YouTube channel, you got to get over here because this is the place where all these kinds of charting projects and when we do these altcoin rundowns, this is where it happens on the YouTube channel. Very simple and very easy. And of course, you can also join our Diamond Circle, which is kind of the one place. We got some new stuff coming out for you guys on DC this year that you guys I think are going to love. It's going to be announced in the next couple of weeks. Be listening in on that. Really cool stuff. If you guys want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.